This would be the part where if I knew words for Phantom of the Opera, I would sing one of their songs with like a twist on it, but I don't.
Don't have one.
No.
Isn't it like
It's been Phantom.
Yeah, I mean, we can always fall back on that. It's Quince. Okay, hey, welcome to a whole new podcast all about Disney Channel original movies. I'm one of your hosts, Lucas Melby.
And I'm the other host, Jacob Telejohn.
And our honorary, erstwhile, sometimes here, third host,
Sam Lazen.
Hey, it's a pre-Christmas miracle. Sam's back again. We got a good one here today. It's a double dose of spookiness. Not as spooky as Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire, though admittedly that wasn't actually that spooky of a movie. But
it was more natural than this one.
Paranatural?
Paranormal.
Paranatural. I wouldn't call supernatural, I think is the word you're looking for.
Didn't have one of the aunts from Sabrina.
Yes.
That's the mom.
Yep.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Not the hot one.
I wasn't sure if there was more than one aunt in the original show. Anyway,
they made fun of it on Robot Chicken. Like, why are you? If we're witches, why are you still fat? And
wow.
Sabrina, the teenage bitch.
Oh my god.
And it was funny.
Gotcha. It all makes sense.
No, I'm just gonna clap so you know when to cut that.
Nope. I didn't take any issue with that. Let's keep that in. And in the interest of keeping stuff in, let's move along and just get out there that the movie we watched this week, or this bi-weekly period, was Phantom of the Megaplex.
It's
the penultimate movie, or DCOM, of the year 2000. Yeah. The year of the DCOM, finally coming to an end. And it feels like it's been a year for us.
The movie came out in December, too. It wasn't like an October movie. Was it?
Phantom of the Megaplex came out in November. Because the next movie we're going to watch has a Christmas theme.
Yes.
And
it's not really a Christmas theme. It's more weather themed.
Without committing too much to us, we might even have it out by Christmas time. We might have an actually timely holiday DCOM episode.
We did have
no,
the Halloween one, didn't we? It wasn't under wraps.
Under wraps, we did. We started the podcast in like November, and Halloween Town. Literally, I released Halloween Town on Christmas Eve. So, that's enough behind the scenes chatter. We've had some longer episodes, so let's just get into this. Phantom of the Megaplex starts out with spooky organs because Phantom of the Opera, right? Yes. And it's not a great opening because we're immediately greeted with our favorite
people again. Introduce the people and
we're greeted with our favorite DCOM trope of main character narrator.
Yeah.
And we get our main character Pete talking about, doesn't history fucking suck? History's so lame and boring, but sometimes it's relevant to the present. And this is all over footage of the original Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah.
And then Pete starts talking about, hey, my town used to have a theater, but then we like tore it down, but then somebody maybe was inside of it and died, and I hear he might still be alive. Phantom of the Megaplex, maybe.
And during the footage of the theater burning down, the World Trade Center's in the background.
Really?
Yeah.
This is still pre 9/11. The meaningful eras of Disney Channel original movies is pre and post 9/11. And so then we get to cut to the new theater that goes up over the original theater, maybe a megaplex, if you will.
Yeah.
And we learn that Pete is the ass man of this theater. That's right, the assistant manager.
The youngest ass man ever.
Yep. Billy Gunn would be proud. And he is very proud of his duties. He's 17 years old, the youngest assistant
We don't need
manager.
to know about his bathroom habits, Mel.
I mean, it's a different kind of ass man than you expect. And he is talking about like, oh yeah, I work really hard, but my mom doesn't get it. She's like, settle down. And I'm like, fuck you, Mom. The other important thing we have to get to here is that in the opening credits, we see listed Mickey Rooney.
Yes, and Mickey Rooney.
Yep, he gets the last billing. Yeah. And I don't actually know, so I know that in Breakfast at Tiffany's, he plays a Chinese American and is very offensive. But other than that, I don't know why Mickey Rooney is a thing.
He was a child actor as well.
Okay. Because growing up, he would always be on like infomercials for like old people things. He was like, here's Mickey Rooney endorsing this. And it's like, that. I guess that's meaningful for old people, but I still never knew Like, I know, like, since seeing Wilford Brimley in, like, the diabetes commercials, like, he's in Tremors and stuff, but I don't know.
I know that he also had a show where he just ranted about stuff he didn't like.
No, that's Andy Rooney.
Isn't it the same person?
No. Andy Rooney was on 60 Minutes. I don't know if they're related. They're both very old and now both dead. But, so that's exciting, and we'll see what his character is all aboard, in a little bit. So we really need to emphasize that this is a massive movie theater.
It's really big.
Our town we live in, we have what's called Movies 8 or Cinemark 8, which has 8 houses, 8 theaters.
It has more than that.
What?
It does.
It has like 11. Melvin.
Oh, shit. So I guess it's not called that anymore.
No, it is called, the company is called Movies 8.
Cinemark is the one that owns it.
It's a big company.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay,
This theater, though, they were given all these statistics about how much popcorn they serve. They said more than 7,000 people come in at any given night. I think they had 26 screens.
Yeah, so it is a megaplex that we aren't really familiar with in our mid-sized Minnesota town, city, whatever you want to call where we're from.
Yes.
So then we get a big series of introductions of characters, still with the narration from Pete. So first we meet Sean, who is the senior manager of the facility, and he's really uptight, and everybody gets their own title card. There's a freeze frame on the person, you get their name, and we're going to see a bunch of these people have nicknames.
Yes.
So we also learn about the theater owner, Wolfgang Niedermeyer, who has landed the premiere of Midnight Mayhem, the world premiere to be at this megaplex. So it's a big deal, and it will be the focus of this movie. Then we're introduced to Ricky Rules, who cares about the rules.
Yeah.
Scary Terry, who always tells scary stories. Racy Lacey, who talks very fast and is also a little bit of a slut.
Wow.
Hillary Honey, who is the most uncomfortable character in this movie.
Was she even in it that much?
She was in it more than Ricky Rules. She is a teenager, but very much seems to be like a 20-year-old playing a teen who just talks like a grandma, where she calls people honey all the time. So her nickname is, Hillary Honey. Then we get Mark Jeffries, whose nickname is Question Mark, because he asks a lot of questions.
Yes.
Then we meet the projectionist Merle, who's a bit of a cinephile and knows how to work the projectors and lots of technical details. His nickname is Merle. It says Merle, a.k.a. Merle, which was, I thought, a fairly funny bit. And then, last but not least, Ricky Rooney, Jesus Christ. Mickey Rooney,
Ricky Bobby,
who is a crazy old man who loves movies and the movie theater, and his name is Movie Mason. And he just shows up to the Megaplex because he used to work at the old theater or something.
And he has dementia, so he just shows up for work.
Yeah, he shows up, is not actually an employee.
He has like a schedule that he gives to the...
Yeah, he gives the schedule to Sean, the manager, all the time, and then Sean just throws it in the garbage.
I don't even think we know his real name. Everyone calls him Movie Mason the whole time.
That's the thing, is his title card doesn't say like so-and-so, also
Mickey
known
Rooney.
as. It's just Movie Mason.
Yeah.
So he is an enigma, to say the least.
I was expecting him to turn out to be a ghost the whole time.
Wow.
There could have been some cool stuff going on there. Also, I don't know if this was in the narration or not, but we learned that Pete has got the hots for a girl named Caitlin, and he's invited Caitlin and her friend Lisa to the premiere.
Yes.
Which I don't think is how big movie premieres work, is that the movie theater staff could just invite their friends. And once the characters are introduced, that's the end of their narration. There's no more narration, thankfully, throughout the movie.
There's narration of laughter all the time.
Spooky laughs.
Oh, yes. There is disembodied voices.
It's like a random laugh track.
There's times where you're supposed to see the person that's laughing, and it plays like no one can hear that they're laughing at all.
Well, he is wearing a mask. But no, it is very much like in The Other Me when I was mad about that kid not actually burping, but they put the voice in for the burp.
Yeah, but still he was mouthing the burp. This is just...
But he's got a mask on.
I didn't see any movement of the jaw.
Well, we're getting ahead of ourselves. The Phantom of the Megaplex hasn't even done anything yet in this movie. It doesn't
come in until an hour into the movie.
I think this movie is actually fairly well paced.
If you go back and watch it the second time, you'll notice some things that...
Okay, settle down, Jake.
You'll notice something.
Laughter.
Save it for your YouTube video, your 20-minute breakdown of Phantom of the Megaplex. 10 things you might have missed. Number 4 will blow your fucking mind.
I'm Jacob John. Jeffrey Epstein was killed by the Phantom of the Multiplex.
Ooh, topical. Kind of. So it's the day of the premiere, so Sean is gathering all of the staff, giving them a pep talk, quoting like Niedermeyer, the leader of like the chain of theaters, acting like a real square. And then he gets a call from Niedermeyer, and on the call, we're hearing him talking. He's like, oh, you gave your son-in-law the general manager job? Okay, I'm sad. And as soon as this happened, I'm like, he's going to be the Phantom of the Megaplex.
Yeah, that's what I thought, too.
And to keep the listeners interested, we won't reveal yet who the Phantom actually is. But then he turns and is still giving the pep talk. Pete kind of is like, yeah, Sean, fucking movies, right? And he's like, good job, Pete, you're a good man. If anything goes wrong tonight, I'm fucking blaming you.
Yes.
So Sean's not a great guy. So then Pete drives home because it's like earlier in the day and the premiere is going to be later at night because it's, you know, a movie premiere.
Yeah.
And that's where we meet his mom.
And we get another Disney trope where the mom seems to want to fuck the child.
Some people might call that a trope, or some people might
Tell John, do you agree?
I thought the same thing.
Exactly.
Because Papa's out of the picture.
Oh, he be dead. And she's like, you need to have more fun.
So a real trope is, yes, the dead dad. But I'm starting to, if I can psychoanalyze you a bit, I'm wondering if you saw and experienced such little affection from your mothers as children that then you just see genuine affection shown towards a son as sexual. This is definitely Oedipal, I think.
I looked up the mom, and she has been in quite a few things where she could have had a thing for her child. I'm talking soap opera.
I was like,
it was part of that soap opera acting that made me believe that it could be.
Oh, okay. Sam he's got the receipts, he's got the deets for this. So yeah, we meet the mom as well as his younger sister Karen and younger brother, the littlest sibling Brian, who are both movie obsessed. They're just rattling off titles and like, Mom, this is just like in this movie.
Oh my God.
So Karen, the sister, is upset that she apparently needs to be babysitting Brian because Mom's going to go on a date with George, who is actually well liked by all of the kids.
He seems like a really nice man.
A surprise. But then she works it out that Brian comes up and is like, I want to go see Farmer Brown.
Farmer Brown goes to town, sir.
Well, he doesn't refer to it as go to town, but yes, we'll later see that it is called Farmer Brown Goes to Town. And the movies in Phantom of the Megaplex are all very good.
Yeah.
So the mom allows Karen to go to the movie with Brian so that she doesn't need to babysit him, but it's basically like babysitting him anyways.
Well, she wanted to also go to a movie.
Yes. She wanted to go to University of the Dead or something?
No, that's one of the lame things.
University Kills or something?
Death U.
University, yeah. Some fake horror movie. And her mom's like, no, you can't see it. So she settles for Farmer Brown, and then Pete's gonna like drive them back on his lunch break.
Yeah.
And this is the point where I thought that George was the Phantom of the Multiplex.
When you hadn't even seen him yet?
Yeah, exactly.
Deep. That's deep.
That's why she wouldn't find love ever again.
Oh.
So it's kind of weirdly set up that in back-to-back scenes, one of the mom's defining characteristics, other than that she's single, is that she like corrects the kids' grammar. She does it twice and then never again in the rest of the movie. In one of those scenes, she's sitting down with Pete, who is eating cereal out of a comically large bowl.
Very big bowl.
It's like a mixing bowl.
And it wasn't even full. Like, you couldn't even see the cereal or milk in it. It was.
But at one point, he seems to be amused with how big it is, because he's just laughing to himself.
He said that he was, like, eating meat out of there, too.
Yeah, the mom has a really lame line. She's like, easy, Grog. Nobody's going to take away your woolly mammoth meat. It's like, oh my God.
Starve, Mom.
So then she basically just comes over and she's like, I think you're working too hard. You need to like settle down. And Pete's like, no, it's all good. Madison Ashley Metz is coming to the premiere tonight, Mom. I'm moving up in the world. And it's Madison Ashley Metz. That's a good fake actress name.
It sounds like a real actress's name.
But I agree with the mom, unless like they're really strapped for cash, which is not set up in this movie that he's working to like support his family because the mom's single. It's just like, he wants to work a lot in the summer, and it's like, yeah, you know, you are only a kid for so long. As somebody who is now an adult and, you know, works full-time or whatever, I can say I'm glad that I only had a paper route as a kid. And I used all of my
I
hours.
actually worked for a living. unlike Melly.
What do you mean a living Sam? You were still 16, okay? Just because you worked at...
I started working there when I was 14. I had a paper out since I was 11.
Yeah, well, we see how each turned out. The listener can decide.
I'm a very successful carpenter, and you're a receptionist.
I'm not a receptionist, but I played a lot of video games as a kid. That's something I'll take with me forever. So then everything is going great. Pete is like, yeah, Mom, it's going to be so great. And then we get a cut to Sean saying, it's a disaster. He's on the phone. People are calling in sick. People aren't showing up. Oh, my God. Things are going off to a bad start.
Sean always kind of acts like a teenage girl. That's kind of just the vibe I got from...
sexist.
Yeah. He's always like a little whiner.
What teenage girls are you around?
Oh, so all teenage girls are whiners?
Yeah.
No, Sean doesn't act like a teenage girl. He acts like a shitty boss. Which is a more universal thing for people to know. Well, not necessarily DCOM characters, but no. There are actual teenage girls in this movie who act like teenage girls.
You're just icky.
Well, so all teenage girls are icky.
Let me psychoanalyze you again. Sean being icky, and you associate that with teenage girls, when he really does not act like a teenage girl.
That's my whole high school experience.
Jacob was kind of bullied in high school, including by me.
And teenage girls.
What teenage girls bullied you?
Yeah,
Name one.
We need names. Put the names out in public. So Sean gets so nervous that he starts to get the hiccups, which is supposed to be funny, ? And the staff are upset. One of them is upset.
Oh, whoa, you missed the best line of that time. Was, go get me a water. Flat. No bubbles.
Yes, that is the cure, I guess, for Sean's hiccups.
Exactly. Yeah. And that shows that he's a huge dick.
Because he's very particular about his water.
Oh, yeah, he doesn't want any...
Like a teenage girl, they're always about their... What is this, tap water?
Smart water. Mocha latte
They demand their water to be as sparkling as their diamonds that they require.
So some other staff, I believe this is Ricky Rules, is getting upset because Sean is saying that nobody gets breaks because of the low staff, which is against their union contract, which I'm pretty sure theater workers, especially teenagers, have never been unionized in any state.
Absolutely not.
So the staff are setting up, and one of the things that is set up are some balloons that are hanging above the entrance.
Yeah.
Which Racy Lacey, I believe,
Lacey.
Taking notes with all the character names, says, oh yeah, Sean set those up. He's working really hard. And then some people carry a ladder through the doors, and then we just get a spooky laugh from a subway. And it's not really addressed what's happening, but later on you can kind of put pieces together, but it's literally like an hour later in the movie. Yeah. So, hey, Phantom of the Megaplex asked a lot of its viewers really have to be engaged with the content. So back at home, Karen is cutting a deal with Brian because she wants to see University of Death.
Yes.
So she's like, hey, I'll take you to a movie next week. What was it, Sam? Something Power Penguins?
Power Penguins 4.
Yeah, something like that. And I'll give you $10 and some candy. And I'm like, well, shit. This is obviously not modern theater prices because...
She said $5 and he upped it to $10 and a king-sized candy bar.
Yeah, Brian is a tough haggler.
Savvy consumer.
Yes. So yes, he agrees. So it sounds like once they get to the theater, he'll go to Farmer Brown, goes to town, of course, and then she'll slip out to go to University of Death. While working at the concession stand, Pete runs into his rival, Donnie Holly, who is first introduced as Holly, which I was very confused. I had to turn on closed caption and be like, what the fuck is going on? Not that he can't be called Holly, but it just seemed like
Hardcore Holly, wrestler, WWE.
Yes. It just seemed like a very progressive choice. But no, his name is later shown to be Donnie Holly, and he is very much preppy, jockey guy. Yeah. He's like, oh, I hear Lisa's going to a movie tonight. And he has a friend who's like, ooh.
No, his friend doesn't say anything.
This is a high
because
five
he's
thing.
Black.
Yeah, his friend does high five him. He's like, yeah, you told Pete.
So but not Pete... verbally, just through...
Exactly, because that's another trope of DCOMs is having a black person high five someone to know how cool they are, but that black person does not talk.
Not up a line.
You've seen at least 2 DCOMs you've watched. There's the friend in The Other Me who talks, does high five someone.
There was another person who high fived on did not talk.
Don't look under the bed.
There was yet another person that gave them a high five that did not talk.
But then there was also the other main character of the movie was black. So, yes, Pete is like, fuck you, Donnie. So he kind of walks off in a huff.
And this is where I thought Donnie was the Phantom of the Multiplex.
Also would have been really good. Mickey Rooney, a.k.a. Movie Mason, is seeing that there's a bunch of people struggling to take everybody's tickets. There's only 2 ticket takers. So he goes up to Sean, the manager, and he calls him Young Sean repeatedly, which I thought was pretty funny. Young Sean! And he gives like some spiel. He's like, I want to help guide people to the movie magic, Young Sean. Please let me be a ticket taker. So Sean is like, yeah, sure. He takes off his bow tie, or he gives him a bow tie because that's like all the theater workers has bow ties.
He like jizzes in his pants.
Yeah, he gives another long speech. Like, this is the greatest moment in my life compared to blah, 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 blah.
The birth of my daughter.
Washing a toddler for the first time.
Yeah.
Which will come back.
So then Karen and Brian get dropped off by Mom and George, who go off to their date, I guess starting in like the afternoon or something.
Yeah, early.
It's weird because we see them later at night.
Yeah, the timetable, this does take, it's nice that it takes place over a single night, but like the time is still kind of weird because it's like the showing of Farmer Brown like lasts forever.
It's like a 7-hour movie.
It's a long trip to town.
It's actually real time, driving.
It's mostly travel time.
They're coming in and they see there's this huge bottleneck. There's this huge crowd of people. They're not moving. And Brian goes and investigates. And we find out it's because Mickey Rooney is not letting people in because they're going to go see a bad movie. And he's telling the people the movie sucks ass. And they're like, I don't fucking care, Movie Mason. Yes. Yeah, they're about
do
to
you want a knuckle sandwich? Just let me in.
Yeah, Brian's like, I think a riot's about to start. And it's like believable. The
extras in this movie overreact so quickly.
The theater goers in this movie get very angry.
On a fucking dime.
So Sean comes in, sees, and this is like maybe 20 minutes into him taking tickets, sees that Mickey Rooney's just fucking up hard, gets mad at him, takes back the bow tie, tells him to leave, and Mickey Rooney goes down like an escalator and is like, you can't kick me out of my theater, I'll be back.
The point of the movie where I then began to suspect again that he was the Phantom of the Multiplex.
And we're definitely supposed to think he's the Phantom of the Megaplex at this point, or once the Phantom of the Megaplex actually starts to be a thing that people are talking about.
Yeah.
I should let them know that I, in my head, always say multiplex. That I'm just getting it wrong.
When we were starting this podcast, I was trying to remember the name. It's like multiplex, cineplex, megaplex. I probably got it wrong a bunch of different times.
I've been saying it wrong since I was a child, and I refuse to change it. Much like Baja Blast. It's Bahasha Blast.
Is that true?
That's how I said it as a child, and that's
it's true to his childhood experience, but... So as Movie Mason's getting taken away, Karen and Brian are like, no, I love Movie Mason. You can't treat him like that. So Pete's
Movie Mason's the best of all of us.
So Pete's like, I don't get why you guys fucking love Movie Mason so much. And like, why do you love movies so much? All I care about is making money. And it's...
Money never sleeps, Wall Street.
Money Mason.
So Pete's main character trait is that he's too serious. So he's working too much.
He loves money.
Yeah, and he's really greedy. But him saying like, I don't like movies because I'm too into money is just like such a weird thing for anybody to say.
Typical.
It reminds me of an acquaintance who I don't think he listens to the podcast. Or he was kind of our friend in high school, but he probably doesn't listen, but we still won't say his name. Where we're playing video games, just like, I haven't played video games in so long. This is when we were in college, and it's like, okay, you're really cool. Was it because you were kissing girls? He's like, yeah, I was. So I'm like, fucking whatever, man. So Pete sees Caitlin then as he's walking with his siblings and leaves them to go talk to Caitlin. So yeah, there's this self-serve candy area where it's like gumballs and you like take a bag and you fill it up. It's not a vending machine or anything.
Yeah, we're going to just get one. Who's going to want a whole bag of gumballs at a movie?
So many gumballs.
They have like Mike and Ike's too.
Yeah, there was
also like mix it up. Like, ooh, I want some sweet, and there was savory.
Some gummy bears. Yes, savory candy.
Take 5.
There's like beef jerky.
That was weird.
So he's trying to, Brian's trying to like open it up, and it's just like a plastic flap that you reach into, but he tears off the lid. So he's freaking out And then who comes in? Donnie Holly. He's like, hey, kid, it's okay. I'll help you out.
Pop it back.
I couldn't tell if he was actually trying to help it out or this was all on purpose.
He was being a dick. But
I think he was trying
Donnie
to put
Holly.
it back
His defining characteristic is he's a dick.
I think he was trying to figure it out, and then he made a blunder of it. And then he's your fault.
He's like, this is how you put it on. And then he pushed purposely too hard.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Okay, well,
let's go back to the tape.
So Donnie Holly's trying to put it on. He does something that we don't actually see because it doesn't make sense that it would result in all of the gumballs streaming out. But they do. He breaks something. And then immediately...
people are flipping in the air.
Oh, there was riots in the streets.
People are doing full flips. Nachos, popcorn going everywhere.
They're falling 25 feet up into the air.
And at this point... Brian yells, Phantom of the Megaplex.
Yeah, so then there's like the music.
But it's like, no, we know who did this.
Yeah.
I mean, unless Donnie Holly is the Phantom of the Megaplex.
That was one of the classic misdirects.
But then we get an amazing, one of the dumbest scenes in a DCOM we've seen so far.
But it was great, though. And by dumb, you mean great.
Yes, but Pete leaves...
you go ahead and I'll tell you.
Pete leaves Caitlin behind to go to the cardboard cutout display for Power Penguins 4 or whatever, which has an actual physical hockey stick. Yeah. He takes a hockey stick, knocks over a garbage can, and starts hitting gumballs maybe like 3 at a time.
And there's like slap shots. And then also... He's like miming stick handling, but he doesn't have anything on there. So he's just going back and forth with the stick, and it's fucking bullshit.
Yes, there's like 100 gumballs or like hundreds of gumballs on the floor. He's knocking 3 or 4 in at a time. In the audience, all the theater goers are loving it.
On a dime, they go from rioting to going,
It's like, we don't even need to go see our movies. This is all the entertainment we need. People are clapping, losing their shit. And then Pete finishes and he's like, yeah, that was awesome. But then he sees Caitlin's being taken away by Donnie Holly, which is why I believe that he used the candy as a purposeful distraction so he could swoop in.
But he puts his arm around her later, so I think they're together.
But Pete was talking to Caitlin, so he had to get Pete out of the situation because Pete had to attend to the gumballs.
Actually, Pete's the bad guy trying to steal away this guy's girlfriend.
It's a mystery.
Very complicated. This girl gets around.
So, but one final great thing about the scene is that...
Oh, yeah, she made fun of you in high school, too. Is that right, Telejohn? Yes.
I don't even know. I probably can't keep up with what I'm supposed to edit out of this movie. So then Karen and Brian meet up with Karen's friend, or friends, who are waiting outside of University of Death. And her friend is like, she's supposed to be kind of like a cool, like, troublemaker. But she's like pulling a prank, but all she's doing is holding the door open for people and is like, this movie's gonna be really fucking scary. And people were like going in, and I'm like, what is she doing? It was so weird.
She's an agent of chaos, Melby.
Yeah.
People don't know what to think. Does she work there?
So yeah, Karen's late for the movie, but she has to run off to take
Farmer Brown.
Brian to Farmer Brown.
He's going to town, Melby.
Yeah. So we didn't get this when we were watching this, but when I was watching on my own, because I watched it separately to take notes, I had the closed captioning on. And outside of University of Death, it's inaudible. Like, I could hardly hear it, but it's closed caption. Somebody says, this is so crazy. You know, a friend of mine went to college. He got killed.
What?
A friend of mine went to college. He got killed.
Could you actually hear it, like, when you played it back? And
I could kind of pick up on it. It's like, background noise. And it's like,
what the hell?
What kind of message is this saying? Like, don't go to college because you'll get killed? But then somebody else says, like, oh, I hear this is based on a true story. So it's like kind of they're talking about University of Death.
Oh,
so
maybe.
This is a side story.
It's like subliminal messaging.
But it's like the most interesting thing that can be said in a DCOM, and it's never addressed that, yes, this guy's friend went to college. My friend went to college, and he got killed.
And now this movie is out.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. So Karen leaves Brian behind in Farmer Brown, tells him to stay in the theater, and she says something like, hey, don't make me get the cinema sitter. Who is the cinema sitter, you may ask?
Lady.
We meet her. She's an old lady who has a vest on that says cinema sitter on the back. And it seems her duty is to make sure kids aren't getting up to mischief
she
or something.
Seem like she's not like a terrible woman.
No, she's not mean.
I feel like she's there to make sure kids don't sneak into R-rated movies.
I
feel like that's her job. Now she's going above and beyond, like, your little kid brother's too long in the bathroom.
Yeah, you're right. So Karen's worried because she's sneaking into a PG-13 movie, which isn't a big deal.
No,
probably.
she said to her mom that it's PG-13. That's no problem her going into it.
Yeah. So, but I don't know. She's worried that.
But you skipped over the best line, which Farmer Brown was adjusting a tarp in the back of his truck, and then he goes up to his wife and goes, "Now I don't want you running off."
I don't even know if that's his wife.
It could be like very apt because his sister doesn't want her brother getting out.
Yes, actually, a genuinely kind of cool thing in this movie is that Farmer Brown, the lines in the movie and the things that happen, comment on what's actually happening in Phantom of the Megaplex.
Little did they know, right before they went in there, they found out that one of his friends from college got killed.
Yeah. So Karen gets past the cinema sitter. She hides in a cardboard cutout with some teen girls.
That was pretty good.
Gets back into University of Death. Yeah. And then Pete is in, we'll later learn it's Typhoon Summer or Cyclone Summer, which is the movie that Caitlin and Lisa, her friend, are watching. And he's just talking it up. He's like, "Oh yeah, this premiere is gonna be so fucking crazy. I hear what's his name? Jacob Johnson's gonna be here."
Jacob Johnson.
And Caitlin says, "How raw would it be if I could touch Jacob Johnson's hand?" And Pete's like, "Yeah, I could introduce you to her." And she's like, "Wow, this is so cool." He's flexing his power. And it's nobody thinks actual assistant managers at theaters are cool. He's like, "Yeah, in a year, I'll probably be running this place." And both me and Sam said, that is extremely sad.
To be fair, there was a manager that I used to work with that was manager of the Cinemark, and he was cool, but only for getting you the really big posters of the movies that you could bring home.
He was a dick all the other time.
Alcohol.
But then Lisa is also all about his bow tie, and she's like, will you still have your bow tie if you're a manager? And he's like, "Bitch, you making fun of my fucking bow tie?" And she's like, "No, I love it."
Her friend
says
that,
Lisa, her
she?
friend says, "No, she actually
really
fucking loves your bow tie."
She's creaming her jeans for the bow tie.
So yes, Pete takes off his bow tie,
which is fine because the actress was 19. I could say that.
Sam did the detective work.
Yes.
So he gives his bow tie to Lisa, but then wouldn't you know it, fucking Donnie Holly swoops in, popcorn in hand, all this popcorn. Is like, "Hey, don't you have to fucking work or something? Haha, I'm Donnie Holly. I'm made of money. Look at all this popcorn."
I don't have to work a day in my life. I'm Donnie Holly.
So then Pete's like, "Oh, I guess I gotta go because Donnie Holly's here now."
Fucking Donnie.
And then chaos just immediately starts happening. There's popcorn overflowing at the concession stand.
Lots of popcorn all over it's a big...
Pete solves it by just unplugging the machine, and people hadn't thought of that. And then there's a projector glitching out in the movie called Glimpses of Guinevere or something like that.
Looks like a strobe light kind of flash.
So it's there's a theater goer who says, "We didn't think it was going to be so literal that we're actually just seeing glimpses of her." And the theater is losing their fucking mind. It is, again, almost riot level of
People
anger.
are turning around and going, "Focus! Get the projector, you fucking asshole!"
And this is so funny because we go from Caitlin and Lisa being like, "Wow, you're so cool because you're the assistant manager," to how actually people treat the assistant manager. Because Pete goes in and says, "Hey guys, I'm the assistant manager. It's all fine."
I'll give you free tickets.
A guy says, "Hey, you want a fucking medal?" Big whoop, you're the assistant manager.
Some guy stands up, starts throwing popcorn.
At least 2 people are throwing popcorn.
One kernel at a time, though.
Yeah, and he's like, "Okay, sure. Yeah, you can get free tickets," but they don't want to hear it.
No.
And then Brian had followed Pete into the theater, and Brian, again, the little brother, if you're not keeping track, thinks that this is the Phantom of the Megaplex doing
The Phantom of the Megaplex strikes again.
Ooh. Could it be? But Pete's like, "No, it's not, and you have to go back to Farmer Brown."
Which has been going on for 4 hours at this point.
They get back to the theater. Farmer Brown had just gotten back to his car. Someone left.
Well, actually, before he gets back to the theater, Brian is just walking on his own, and he feels he's being watched. So he turns around and does a kung fu pose. Yeah. Ah! And nobody's there. And he keeps walking, but then he does it again, and no one's there. But then we get a close-up of the Farmer Brown, it says goes to town, cutout, that has a person who is not the character we have seen shown in Farmer Brown so far.
I did think about this. Maybe this is the first one, and that's promoting the sequel, where he's aged 50
Or maybe
years.
the person that we had seen so far in Farmer Brown isn't even Farmer Brown.
Maybe it's a flashback.
But
this was when he was just farmhand Brown, not farmer.
But then it zooms in on the farmer's face, and for some reason, the cardboard cutout has its eyes cut out, and we see eyeballs looking through.
Yeah. Shifting like Scooby Doo.
It's probably the scariest scene in the movie.
And right behind it, he must have been holding a flashlight up to his eyes or something.
Back in Karen's movie, her and her friends are being the most annoying teen girls possible. They're like, oh, isn't he so cute? I dare you to yell you love him in this theater. Yeah. No, I dare you to yell it. Well, don't dare April. She'll do anything. We're going to get kicked out. April's killed a man on a dare.
He was at a college.
So this is where you're talking about Sean being a teenage girl and being annoying. This is accurate teenage girl behavior in a movie theater where they go to a movie and just talk. Why are they even in the movie theater? This is me being Andy Rooney.
Wow.
Oh, there's a guy that goes, shh. No, shut up. Stop talking. You're talking. I'm not talking. You are now.
Yep. And then he's like, shit, she beat me.
she
got me. So then Karen has to slip out to go check on Brian, who is not in Farmer Brown. And here again, we get Farmer Brown reflecting reality. Farmer Brown had left somebody in his truck, this lady. He comes back, he's like, I told you to stay here. Why couldn't you stay put?
I've been thinking it was clearly a prostitute. Now the prostitute has robbed him.
I'm going to say no.
Farmer Brown went to town to get a prostitute.
But it is really funny that we see just like a scan over of the crowd, and these people are just enthralled watching Farmer Brown go to
mostly adults. I didn't see a single child in there.
They were like teens. Pete is trying to fix another projector. This one is in a theater called Cut to Black, where the lights are just kind of strobing. And it's like, another one kind of related to the title of the movie.
He doesn't find that out. Brian's the one that told him that.
No, I'm just saying, I'm incepting the idea into the listener's mind.
Yeah, but Brian, he's not thinking of it right now. You are a liar.
And somewhere, Karen also runs into the cinema sitter, who's helping her try to track down Brian, which takes them to the men's bathroom, which Brian's not there, but a creepy old guy
Give me his name. And then she
opens the door.
Brian, if you're in there, hurry up and go back to the movie.
But, like, imagine if Brian wasn't there. That would be the most embarrassing moment in, like, his entire life.
Yeah.
Pete is trying to fix the projector. Brian shows up in the projector booth, kind of in, like, a horror movie reveal.
Spooky,
and says, sabotage! And it's like,
Says, what are you saying? Sandwich?
Does he say that?
No, that's an Office reference.
Okay. But then Merle shows up, the projectionist, to kind of help out with fixing the projector that's just kind of strobing. And it was cool, I thought, to actually see the old projection equipment. Because I'm pretty sure most theaters just have digital projectors
in this movie, it was state of the art.
They were big. Like, I didn't realize, like you said, how
Yes, it was not like... I don't think it was a situation where, they had to change reels. It was all, like, computerized and automized for that part. But it was still actual film.
That's why Merle was like, oh, yeah, I'm underappreciated now in computers.
Merle does say that he is underappreciated and underpaid.
And this is when I thought he was the
Could he be a disgruntled employee? Well, I mean, he is a disgruntled employee.
I'd say he's fairly gruntled.
Somewhere else in the theater, other staff see the first final actual physical reveal of the Phantom of the Megaplex. Some guy in a cloak just running down the hallway laughing.
Yes, but not a real laughter, like a spooky Halloween
yes,
laughter.
The mwah kind of thing.
And it echoes through the corridors.
And then Pete and Brian, they talk to some people and they're like, we can't find Sean. And they find him in the basement because they're looking for velvet ropes something for the premiere. And yes, Sean is tied up and has tape over his mouth. And he says it was somebody who had pushed him from behind and tied him up. And then, of course, Brian goes, Phantom of the Megaplex!
Strikes again.
Doing his best Mickey Rooney impersonation.
So then they free Sean and he gets immediately back into action, setting things up. Pete brings Brian back to Farmer Brown. They run into Karen. I love Farmer Brown. It's interminable. It just takes forever. But yeah,
he's still at his truck waiting for that girl to come back.
Yeah, I don't know why Brian wanted to see this movie so badly, like what the trailers were like. But yeah, they run into
Probably
Karen.
like, Farmer Brown doesn't know what he's in for.
Yeah. But Karen, they run into her at some point, bring her back to Farmer Brown. Karen and Brian, they're immediately like, let's ditch Farmer Brown again.
Fuck this movie.
And they start to put together that, hey, don't all these theater accidents seem related to the movie titles? Because we had glimpses of Genevieve or whatever.
Don't they go
and
to
cut
the
to black.
basement first?
No.
Okay.
Because this is where they head out, because they hear screaming. And we see an old lady run past them and goes, look out, children, it's a tornado! And it's in the Cyclone Summer Theater, where there is a giant, not even that giant, an industrial fan that has been placed in front of the theater.
This is the most powerful fucking fan ever.
It is so powerful that it is still blowing at people who are not even directly in front of it. So we see popcorn blowing around. We see people like blowing out of the theater. And people are blown so hard. Nice. That they're just stuck in their seats, including...
Yeah, I've had that happen.
including Donnie Holly and Caitlin.
Yeah.
And Pete comes in and he goes to rescue them, but he's blown so hard by the fan into his seat. Yeah. But eventually he is able to unplug the fan. Yeah. And we were talking about, like, how could this happen that this theater full of people just sees the Phantom just roll in this fan? And they're like, okay, it's a 4D experience or whatever. This is fine. Yeah. And then, they can't move afterwards.
Clearly the Phantom put in the reel, a hypnotic thing. Oh. Made them all go to sleep. Set up the fan.
He's kind of like the villain in Halloween Town.
Yes.
Is that what happened in Halloween Town?
Yeah, people actually get trapped in a movie theater.
Yeah, they're in a theater.
There's actually, even in Cyclone Summer, it kind of reflects what's happening in reality.
Because he unplugs the fan and then the cyclone's over in the movie.
Yeah.
Bright sunshiny day.
But then also there's a cow flying at the screen and then Donnie Holly gets hit with an empty popcorn
That was
bag.
Funny, yeah.
Yeah, it was really good.
It was like, Twister.
Yes, it is very clearly some kind of Twister-based
Everyone was putting right hand on red, and you're welcome for that.
And at this point, I bet you're wondering, what's happening to Mom and George? Well, we're going to find out because they're on their date, and their date seems to be going as bad as things at the movie theater because they've gone to 2 restaurants. One was like filled, one is closed down.
And now it's nighttime. They're driving hours in between.
But they don't seem too worried. They're not like, oh, I'm starving. They're just sitting in front of this closed restaurant. Car turned off, parked, and they see a nice couple of planters of some flowers. And then there's a long extended metaphor about how the mom doesn't want to get married, how those 2 planters, those flowers look nice on their own. They don't need to be mixed together.
But George is like, what if they've got together and everything is fine?
He's like, what about they extend their roots? And what about the buds? You got to think about the buds of the flowers. It's like, oh my God, stop.
We get the fertilizer of the home.
Jacob and Sam, who hadn't seen this movie, I had already seen it. But they were like, oh, isn't this like so stupid, this plant stuff? But it's like, they made the jokes and it was still going on after they made the jokes.
It was a solid 3 minutes.
It's kind of an interesting metaphor, but it's also like, these characters don't even really need to be in the movie.
No, they don't. No.
They have a role to play, but like they have at least 2 scenes that don't need to be in the movie that like it would have functioned fine without it.
Yeah, unrelated.
Then they'd go to turn the car back on after their metaphor time.
And
guess what? Oh...
The Phantom of the Megaplex strikes again.
The car worked fine. It's not even like, I think they eventually say...
Phantom came and stole the spark plug.
George says he's like an English teacher, but it's not even like it's a junky car. It's just, nope, my car doesn't start because that's a thing that happens in
it's
DCOM.
Like English teacher, but every time car breaks down, the man looks under the hood. What's up with that?
Yeah, that was a bit much.
A woke individual here
it's in 2000. Like, Mom's got a date with a vampire. I could say my joke here. Mom's got a date with George, but I forgot to say that earlier. But like, the vampire's car at one point, we don't know why it stops working, but then it just starts working.
No.
It's because
he uses blood as his fuel in his car. Sometimes it gunks it up. So
I like that.
Pete calls her on her pager, which she then uses to call on George's cell phone, which then picks up to a payphone that Pete is calling her from the theater. Old technology, people. It's fun.
It's like, I don't get breaks now. You have to come pick up your children.
Yes, exactly.
It's not my fault you had unprotected sex.
But according to Sam, she wants to have that.
I didn't say she wanted unprotected sex.
Give her that.
So she's a responsible mother, at least. In a way.
I didn't say that.
She's both irresponsible and responsible.
I didn't say the character wanted to. I was referencing the actor.
Oh, so this is a first where it's not actually in universe that the mom wants to fuck her son.
That was shorthand, Melby. I don't have time to explain everything.
Well, better you say it all the other times you've been on the show and you've pushed that narrative, like The Other Me, Genius. I don't know. There was another one. Smart House.
That was a robot AI.
Whatever. So Pete is taking the kids to go sit on a blue bench where the mom's going to pick them up. And this is where Sean comes up and he says that Movie Mason is the Phantom because, at this point in time, it seems like it could be true.
He's pissed.
Brian and Karen sticking to their...
Every time he comes in, there's a organ going, "Bah!"
The Phantom.
No, Movie Mason.
That's not true. There's no guitar squeal and no organ. So Brian and Karen sticking to their character, do not stay where they're supposed to stay ever. They're going to go find Movie Mason, and through various things, it doesn't really matter how, they find out that he
baloney.
Asks where he eats his lunch.
He finds the schedule. I was like, where does he eat? And then she goes, well, and then they're in the basement.
Yeah, so they're going down
many
to the
flights of stairs.
Yes, they're going all the way down into the basement into Movie Mason's lair. But as they're going down the stairs, they see, the Phantom running. And that doesn't really pay off. The Phantom's just down there.
They do it exactly like that, and then they eat a big sandwich, and then they go down there. It's Scooby Doo.
Then Karen's getting scared, and then
shaky.
Brian says, "Don't be scared. We just got to be like an Officer Bean, talented teen too."
Oh my.
Another one that paid off from having the closed captioning on is, it's not even just the original, it has to be the sequel to Officer Bean. And it's like,
that's like a Mr.
So it's the
Bean
original
spin-off.
movie called Officer Bean, Talented Teen.
No.
And then the sequel's called
Officer Bean Child. And then it's Officer Bean Teen.
Talented Teen 2?
No, it's preteen. Preteen, and then it's teen.
So Pete sees that they're missing from their spot. And then we cut back to, we got to find out if George...
No, Pete doesn't say that. His mom calls again, and a guy picks up and goes, City Morgue. And she's like, what?
Well,
she calls again, and it's a different guy who sees her.
I was literally going to get to that.
The question, man.
You were not.
My notes are, George can't fix the car. And then we get the data technology because it's them with the pager. And he's like, look at your pager. Because my phone, I can't look at the old number because my cell phone's too old. But use your pager to go back to the previous number. And then I'll call that again. So then they call the payphone. And then the guy who had made fun of Pete in the theater, answers and says, City Morgue. And then it's like, oh my God. But then she just calls again. And then one of the staff answers and is like, oh yeah, your kids are missing again. It's very farcical where it's just always these constantly crossing paths of people not being where they're supposed to be. And it's like chaos always happening.
Yeah.
So where are Karen and Brian? Well, now they are in Movie Mason's hideout, which is filled with a bunch of movie props. And they're like, are you sure Movie Mason can't be the Phantom? Because he has pictures of Phantom of the Opera on the wall. And then there's a fade into, they show the monster or the Phantom in the movie, and it fades into Movie Mason's face, and he's like, hello, children! And it is genuinely scary that, spoiler alert, he is not the Phantom of the Megaplex, but like,
he's villainous as hell in his speech.
He says, you found my lair, or like,
in the
my
theater.
hideout or something. And he gives a speech that is simultaneously fairly nice because it's talking about like movie magic, but like Mickey Rooney is trying so hard, but also still coming off like creepy. So it's like, well, maybe he's not the Phantom of the Megaplex, but he might just be like a child molester or something.
Not funny, but bad.
Yeah, Melby. God.
But like the music's swelling as he's giving this speech. It's like, oh, movies are magical. It's great. And if this was a real horror movie, he would finish that speech and immediately be killed by the Phantom of the Megaplex.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's where a white man could dress up like a very bad Asian man, and everyone's okay with it. Power movies.
Back in my day, man, make American movies great again. Am I right, guys?
Yikes.
So staff are working on clearing out the theater for the premiere because movies are done. So it's like, hey, we need to get them out.
Oh, not yet. There was a showing of The Flood that ends at 11:15.
Yes, you are correct. And we'll see how that ends out shortly. We encounter some snotty manager who is representing Jacob Johnson, and let me see my notes here. Madison Ashley Metz, who is like, you bitch ass peons, where's Sean?
She's
and
pissed.
They're like, oh, he's missing again. And she's like, well, my actors and actresses, they're pissed in their limos. They're pissing in their limos. I'm pissing on you. Just find Sean, clear this up. So,
True.
Yeah, it's getting late, and this is an actual like midnight premiere. But the movie we did, I think, mention is called Midnight Mayhem. So
Yeah.
I think
That's
it's
why
purposeful. Exactly. Attention to detail.
Oh, yeah, flawless movie. I should mention right now, I looked it up on IMDb. There's no goofs.
I tried to find them
100%
too. And so we see some of the display items for Midnight Mayhem. It has a T-Rex. And earlier in the movie, we see that there's a giant blow-up dinosaur on top of the roof of the Megaplex. That'll come into play a little later. Pete has another run-in with Donnie, and there's a display for Merlin on Mars, which is another great title, of trying to pull a sword out of stone. And Donnie has pulled it out, and he's supposed to win 50 movie tickets.
Yeah?
But since Sean is not there, and everybody's losing their fucking minds, Pete's like, I can't give you these tickets. And then Donnie's like, well, let me into the premiere. That's not how it works, Donnie. My dad will buy this thing. But then they get interrupted by a fire alarm going off.
Yeah.
And then Donnie just goes away for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, he does.
He just leaves peacefully.
You never see him again.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think...
Exactly.
Which is fine.
Which is weird because the building's
No, it's unfortunate.
Why don't you make me? And he's getting all puffed up, ready to go.
He said he was going to come back and deal with him after he dealt with it.
No, Pete should have, like, kissed Caitlin in front of him or something. You know.
Pete should have just gone, like, the...
It'd be the one time I want a kiss to happen in a DCOM is to stick it to Donnie Holly.
Yeah.
No, since he's the assistant manager, he just was like, all right, I'm going to call the police and they'll escort you out. Because
he's like, I got a fucking
manager.
sword!
Oh my God.
I'm a manager here. You're holding
But Donnie did put the sword back. He didn't keep it.
He put it right back.
Yeah, we see later that he put it back. But yeah, so it seems that the people seeing the movie The Flood get hit with the fire alarm. They're all wet, walking out. Again, super angry.
They're pissed.
At
well, this makes
Pete.
sense because they're all wet.
Yes, that is
Their
fair.
pocket contents.
It's not just like their movie being blurry. It's,
Their socks are wet. That's the worst.
They didn't just get a blowjob.
So then Pete finds his siblings who... Yeah, just moving on. Pete finds his siblings who really... We don't really see what brought them to this point, but now they're saying that Merle is the Phantom. Because they didn't really think Movie Mason was the Phantom, but now they've ruled him out, so now Merle has to be the Phantom.
Because of the trailer.
Because adults.
Well, because he had said that he was underappreciated and underpaid, but then we also see that in the theater where Midnight Mayhem is going to be showing, there's some trailer that's like, first it was a movie, now it's real life, so it's like kind of almost like Saw-like, like, would you like to play a movie game?
Yeah, and there's a devil on the screen, which makes no sense because it should be
whose face is it? I can't remember who. It was somebody's face.
It was the devil.
The devil. Yeah, at this point,
head.
or very soon after, we'll learn that it has a dinosaur in it, so why is the devil being shown for Midnight Mayhem? It doesn't matter.
The devil was a T-Rex.
Think
about it when Jesus was in the desert being tempted by him. It was a giant T-Rex.
He was tempted by a velociraptor. So they find Merle in the projection booth. He's trying to take the trailer off, but he's not figuring out, and Brian's laying into him. He's like, yeah, I bet you can't figure it out. He's like, well, yeah, why wouldn't I want to? Like, I'm trying to fix it. He's like, well, then you look like a real hero. And Merle's like, kid, what the fuck is your problem?
He had some valid points.
He was really digging into him.
But then the group sees down in the theater that the Phantom is setting up like a fog machine or a smoke machine. And they're like, well, I guess it can't be Merle. And Brian's like, well, this is awkward. And then
he's all, feats don't fail me now.
Yeah. So then they go into the theater and then they like turn off the fog machine because the Phantom's gone. And there's like, okay. And then Pete's like, hey, you know what? I'm not doing shit. I'll leave this to your guys' movie knowledge to figure out. And they're like, thank you. It's all related to how he's combining like the plots of the movies. So then we get probably the coolest plot point of this movie where
really
they need to find a computer with internet because they're trying to find out. Even like big movies today, there's always like a script that leaks or something that there's spoilers. Yeah. And they're trying to find the spoiler site for Midnight Mayhem so they can foresee what the attack might be related to from the Phantom.
Yeah, that was cool.
Also at this point, you remember Caitlin and Lisa? They're just suddenly walking with the group, and it's mostly because I think Pete at one point needs to take his bow tie back from Lisa. But the one computer at the theater is in Sean's office. So they go into Sean's office, which is empty. Until it's not, because they close the door and Sean is hanging out of the door. And it's a commercial break at that point, and it seems like he could be dead, because how else would he just be willingly hanging there, and he's just like dead hanging? No. But no, we see when it comes back that they had, Sean's off, and it's like, oh, okay, now Mr. Nadermeyer is here, so Sean's again running about. He's like, oh, Mr. Nadermeyer, and he's there with like the film's director, and also the guy who got the general manager job over Sean. And then there's a little string hanging around the entrance that Racy Lacey pulls to pull down the balloons that are above there. And at this point, Pete says, no, Lacey. But how does he know that the balloons, we find out, are filled with water?
Because it's not time for the balloons to come down, Melby. It's when people are supposed to be.
I thought it was that Pete was the Phantom of the Megaplex.
Well, also, when they pull it, the balloons start coming down, but those balloons are filled with air, and then everyone gets hit with
it's because they can't film, they're not going to hold up an expensive camera and then let it get wet, so. But that is, write that on the Goofs page of IMDb. So yeah, everybody gets soaked. Mr. Nadermeyer is fucking pissed. Yeah. And then we also learn here that the blow-up T-Rex that was on the top of the building is now missing.
Now, who should take care of that? Is it Pete and his 2 children? You better believe it is. So, not an adult of any kind.
So then we get probably my second favorite, or one of my favorite scenes in the movie, where it's the doors open, there's a bunch of people taking pictures, the cameras are there, and then we get Movie Mason giving a song and dance, well, not so much dance number, just a song number.
He's
on the red carpet.
He's doing as much as Mickey Rooney can, and he's just singing like, Hollywood.
It's to the tune of Guys and Dolls.
It's not good. I'll say
Me and Melby sang Guys and Dolls in Guys and Dolls at Dakota Meadows Middle School.
It's Mickey Rooney, I don't know if he was known for singing as a child or something, but not really great here.
He's an old man, Melby. What do you want from him?
But Sean comes out and it's like, fucking Movie Mason, why are you here again? And he's pissed at him and he's yelling at him. He's about to let loose and, I don't know, call the cops on Movie Mason or something. When we hear a voice, excuse me, leave Movie Mason alone. And he's like, bitch, what are you talking about? And it's Ashley Madison Metz. Oh my God!
She grew up in that theater.
Yes.
With Movie Mason as her father.
She kisses Movie Mason on the cheek.
Lips.
On the dick.
On the ass cheek.
That's why Mickey Rooney was in this movie.
Oh.
I'll just let that hang for a minute. What was Don Knotts getting in Quince? So then Mom and George also show up, and they just get let in because they tell one of the staff, like, hey, I'm trying to find my kids. Who, speaking of her kids, Karen and Brian are piecing together the plan from the plot, which, like, ends in, like, I think they say, like, a school gymnasium, where the monster is really big, and he, like, cuts out the air. It's like, well, how the fuck is that gonna happen? Well, we'll see very shortly.
I caught none of this.
Well, that's why I'm here steering the ship. Taking too many notes that probably sometimes people don't care about.
I care.
I agree.
But anyways,
I care.
They find Pete, and Pete's like, oh, the balloon's missing. So then they decide to go to the roof, even though the balloon is missing. Or I guess they're just seeing if it's deflated up there.
They were told to go to the roof?
Yeah.
What's his face?
If
Sean?
It's up there or not, because he doesn't believe it's gone or something.
So then there's kind of a nice moment where Sean just kind of comes out as like, I haven't been the nicest brother. I haven't always been believing in you. And I'm like, too serious.
Sean is the general manager.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Pete is saying this to his siblings.
Pete Zacharine.
Sean, not there. Or is he? We see the Phantom kind of sneaking about on the roof. But while Pete is saying all these nice things to his his siblings, this spooky music's playing, and it kind of just undercuts the moment until, of course, the Phantom pops out.
Yeah, you see him
throws a blanket over them.
No, it's just a giant burlap sack.
No, I don't think
it's like a velvet blanket or something.
It's a burlap sack.
Velvet curtain from one of the movies.
And then he wraps them up in a rope and ties them. It just like runs off. And they're just left standing there.
He's very agile. Very agile Phantom.
Yes, he looks.
That's why it's not Mickey Rooney. Okay, we could say here now it's not Mickey Rooney.
It's much taller, but I'd have to say it's a lot thinner than the person it turns out to be as well. So I don't think he was playing both parts.
That's fair. So then the premiere festivities are continuing. Mom and George are trying to find the kids, and we were talking too much, so you didn't pick up on this. But Mom's like, I haven't seen the kids, but I have seen Katie Seagal and LeVar Burton, which is
shit.
It's a smart house call out because obviously Katie Seagal's in the movie, but the movie was directed by LeVar Burton.
That's cool.
Damn. I know. So that was kind of, I put that in the trivia page. The
kids not included in the trivia page.
This is what you get from this attention to detail coming from a whole new pod. The kids are back up on the roof and they're having a comical time trying to get out of the blanket, and this is like cut between like two scenes. Long story short, they move over to like a pipe that has a valve on it because I guess Pete has like a photographic memory of what the roof layout is.
He has to be. He's the youngest ass man there.
So exactly then eventually they loop the rope and it just kind of loosens it, and it's like, okay, hooray.
Really, they could have just crawled out of it because it was not very tight.
Yes, it is true. And then it's finally time for Midnight Mayhem to begin. Again, it's a dinosaur movie, not necessarily clear in the title. So the movie's starting, and then from the balcony in the theater, the giant blow-up dinosaur slowly gets air and falls over. But it's treated as if it like has some kind of like sentience or mobility, where it's like arms are attacking Lacey, and the dinosaur chomps on the director who is giving his like spiel in front of the screen or whatever. So again, audience freaking out. And they're trying to run out, and they run into other blow-up monsters. There's like a King Kong or a gorilla blocking one exit, and then there's just like a cave person blocking another.
I think it was another gorilla. It was obviously a female gorilla.
Yeah, girl gorilla.
I think it was just like...
it was a pink gorilla.
I think it was early...
Fucking high.
It had a bikini thing on.
It was a pink...
Why would that mean it would have to be a gorilla, then?
I will look up the goddamn fucking picture.
I'm just saying it could have been Grog, who we heard the mom reference earlier as eating woolly mammoth meat.
Maybe.
It's not important. But yes,
very important.
People are locked into the theater, so the kids show up, they go up onto the balcony. Actually, at first they try to get into the theater, and Brian just runs straight into the ass of the pink gorilla, if you will.
There are no pictures from this movie on IMDb.
You don't say.
It was nominated for 3 awards, though.
Wow.
They were just like Disney Channel Movie of the Year.
It's called Young Artist Award.
So the kids go up onto the balcony to see, oh shit, this dinosaur is fucking up this theater, even though it's just filled with air. And then Movie Mason is there, who explains that, oh, I was just in the bathroom when this happened. And it's like,
no,
he should be the Phantom of the Megaplex.
Movie Mason enters by going, ah!
Yeah, he for not being the Phantom, he almost always enters a scene as like a surprise. So he's like, hey, I got a plan. And then we cut back to the sword in the stone, and Pete is just furiously pulling up and down on the sword.
on his sword,
and Merle comes up and is like, Pete, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, well, I gotta get the sword, but fucking Donnie Holly, his last, fuck you, Donnie Holly's last hurrah. He stuck the sword in, and apparently it comes out on the 10,000th pull. And Merle's is like, oh, here. And he like flips open like a side of the rock.
He yanks it out.
Yeah, and turns off a switch. So, all right, we got a sword.
Now, listener, how do you think this is going to happen? Is he going to bend over the balcony and poke the inflatable thing? No, he's going to jump on top of the fucking thing.
I mean, what would you... Isn't this what you'd want, though?
He's jumping on top of a balloon with people underneath it still and stabbing vigorously with a sword.
It's pretty cool.
He would murder somebody.
Yes. Again,
ideally,
just like in the previous episode, I'll reference the Goonies, and he should have just said, "Hey, you guys!" Stab the dinosaur. So he takes out the T-Rex. It's deflating.
What does that have to do with the Goonies? He doesn't stab anybody.
The sloth pops up and he stabs the sail and he falls down.
Yeah, he does.
He swings on a rope. He doesn't stab a sail.
Okay, Chunk stabs the sail.
Fat kid.
Somebody goes on the sail.
Yes, because it's seen in the movie.
Yes.
He doesn't say, "Hey, you guys," and then do that. He does that when he swings on the rope.
Okay, somebody says, "Hey, you guys," and then Chunk comes down the sail.
He says, "Captain Chunk."
Moving on.
He can say Captain Chunk and still go down the sail.
Just keep going with the fucking movie.
So then, as Pete is deflating the T-Rex, he sees the Phantom, and he's running behind his screen. So he chases him down, and I thought this was...
No, he gives the sword to some random guy and goes, "Take care of those gorillas." And then
okay, I missed that. And then... I thought this was kind of cool because the movie's not playing, but like the screen's lit up, but it has a backlight. I don't know. That doesn't really make sense, but we just see a silhouette of Pete and fighting the Phantom, and they're like...
Fighting in quotes, because they're mostly just, like, slapping each other.
Well, you know, it has to be something that shows up in the silhouette. If it was, like, a real fight and he just, like, puts him in, like, a headlock, that's just gonna look like a mess.
I want to see haymakers being thrown, some kicking.
But, like, the Phantom's trying to, like, climb up something to get away. Pete pulls him down. Then, speaking of hey, you guys, they're swinging on a rope, and then they crash through the screen. Pete tackles the Phantom and reveals that, yes, it is Sean. Ooh. And I'm going to say... It's fun that there's a twist and there's a mystery, but, like, it's so hard to, like, literally think it should be Sean when it's like, yes, he gets the phone call. I'm like, it has to be Sean. Then he gets captured once.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that's to throw us off the scent. But then he gets captured a second time.
He's hanging up by
and they're both situations where it's like, I don't know if he could tie himself up and then put him into these situations.
I don't think the kids were really looking at the how tight the ropes were.
Sure,
because they seemed to untie him pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, that's beyond anything, but just like from a storytelling thing, you can't have 2 fake out captures by the actual villain. That's just like cheating. Of course
you can.
I mean, yes.
They did it.
Phantom of the Megaplex
They did it.
The Joker in The Dark Knight gets captured several times.
But it's always the Joker. It's not a secret who the Joker, I mean, it is a secret who the Joker is.
He captures himself.
I don't think they're really related here. It's like in Scooby Doo, if like there was 2 fake outs about like Old Man McGucket being the
you're describing
the
every single.
No, there's usually only one, and it's not even a fake out. It's just the first person they see is going to be the monster. That's usually the Scooby Doo. Old Man McGucket.
That's from something else.
It's from Gravity Falls.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, Milder's a fucking nerd.
So everybody's happy except Sean, obviously, because.
He does the whole number 2 in Austin Powers, where it's, I'm tired of you pushing me around.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad for Sean because throughout the movie, Mr. Niedermeyer always calls him by the wrong name. No. And Sean's just like, I just wanted you to like notice me for once. Senpai. He got passed up from the promotion. He doesn't know his name. And Mr. Niedermeyer doesn't feel bad about it like at all.
I don't think he technically has done anything illegal.
It's the situation of like yelling fire in a crowded theater. He's done that like multiple times, so I think there's probably.
I don't think he's yelled fire.
Well, I mean, he set off a fake fire alarm.
Setting off the sprinklers, maybe.
And he trapped those people in the theater, which would be a fire code violation.
I think that would be like a misdemeanor where you have to.
No, it's very small, but Mr. Niedermeyer says that he's never going to get work in a movie theater ever again in this state. Presumably the state is California, but it's not stated.
It's not because the World Trade Center was in the background.
That is fair. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't want him to get arrested, Mr. Niedermeyer, that is, because it would ruin the premiere. Yeah. And then Sean just gets to walk away, and then the director of Midnight Mayhem comes up to him and is like, hey, I want to make a movie. And like Sean's like, okay, that's kind of cool. But then he's like, okay, go get me like a coffee. So it's even then, Sean's getting a movie made about him.
Like, we're going to be partners.
And the director's treating him like shit. So, surprisingly, the ending of this movie kind of just keeps going on because they're like, hey, we gotta tie up something. So, like, what was Pete's character all about? He was too serious. So now Pete is gonna relax more. But first...
he turns down his dream job.
Yeah, he gets a promotion, like he was talking about to Caitlin, that he might run this theater by the time he's 18. Yeah. Mr. Niedermeyer's like, I need you as a manager. Which, him being 17... and having to be the manager, which would mean he'd have to be working like full time.
Fuck school.
Probably illegal.
I don't think so, because there were managers at Culver's that were going to high school with us.
That's wild. But not like the senior, like top manager, like the assman.
All right, the general manager, but he wasn't the general manager.
No, he was not. But Pete eventually has to be like, he first says like, I'd be honored, and then he looks at his siblings and they're like, hey, you said you'd be less serious. He's like, yeah, I'm not.
That with his eyes.
I'm not 17, or I'm 17, not 70. I can work the rest of my life. So he says, you know what? I think I actually need some time off starting tonight. And oh, what's that? Caitlin's there. And Mr. Niedermeyer is like, yeah, boy.
Go get some fucking breakfast on
he says,
me.
After the movie, go get some breakfast. And he throws like a $50 bill at him. he puts it in... Caitlin's cleavage.
Jesus Christ.
He throws a loose condom at them.
As Sam says, it's okay, she was 19 when she was in the movie.
Oh my god.
A loose condom.
And actually, we don't even know if, like, you know, maybe she was like an older kid that, like, he knew that she wasn't even in high school with him anymore.
Wow. Yeah, she was in her 40s.
Maybe she had graduated that previous year and it was just the summer afterwards. You never know.
And Donnie Holiday was 6.
Donnie Holly, please put respect on his name.
Holiday.
But then, again, so he's got the girl, he's not serious. The movie's still not over because, oh, Mom and George are there. George starts out talking about plants again and then proposes to the mom.
And then she looks at her kids and the kids are like, fuck yeah.
And the kids are like confused because he's talking about like flowers and shit. And then he's like, well, I don't have a ring. And then Mickey Rooney goes, looking positively demonic, pops up and says, like, I've got a ring. And he's like,
a loner though, I need it back.
Yeah, he's like cackling. He's like, I got movie props. It's not a real ring. Can I watch you christen your marriage?
Can I watch your first toddler?
Yeah.
Because he says that.
Yes. And then they're leaving. And then it's like, oh, we're going to take the littles home because that's what the mom says for the kids.
I hate it.
But then Pete's like, no, I think they should stay for the premiere. And then finally the movie's going to end. But actually, the movie's just beginning because they're going into the theater. But as Brian is entering the theater, Movie Mason stops him and it says, hey, Brian, I didn't believe you about Phantom of the Megaplex. But let me tell you about the werewolf of the Megaplex.
And then there's
and it goes into Werewolves of London right under the credits.
That's a bad song. And that is a sequel that I don't believe ever was made, was Werewolf of the Megaplex.
That would have been good.
That would have been so boring.
I don't think... How could you make Werewolf of the Megaplex?
It's just bloody. It's bloody and gory.
It can't be like the Phantom of the Megaplex, and it would just it'd have to be an actual horror movie.
The werewolf works there, but he asks for every full moon off.
Maybe it's Sean and he's not aware.
That's how easy that would be. Oh,
Sean comes back as the werewolf.
Ship it. We got a premise right there.
It's 15 minutes long where he's a cool guy working there. And then goes, oh, boss, tomorrow's a full moon. I need it off. Like, okay, you gave me 2 weeks notice.
Interesting. But it's the big premiere.
And then he goes, I don't know, plays a basketball game as a werewolf.
But then he gets ejected because he's a werewolf playing basketball in the movie
like
theater.
Michael J. Fox.
That's what we were referencing.
Yeah, it's
and then he goes bowling, like in the second one.
And then it's Werewolf of the Megaplex 2 TOO. All right, that was Phantom of the Megaplex.
He's an accountant as a werewolf.
Oh, yeah, sure. Jacob, what are your final thoughts on this movie?
We talked about it while we were watching it too. I don't know,
What? We talked about this movie?
Well, we talked about, how
this comes as a shock to probably the hour or more that we've just spent talking about this movie.
Talked about how it could have been,
as long as it's not as actually long as the movie that we talked about.
Another real life, movie that they could have done well in the theaters, like you said, with better camera quality.
See, Telejohn takes comments I said and tries to make them his own.
Well, no,
then
I'm
makes
just
them
saying this is how I
kind of incomprehensible and worse.
It was good. The movie was good.
Yes, it's a strong premise, and there's some fun stuff with like the movies reflecting on reality.
I feel like this movie there's a couple other movies. It had a lot of fucking extras. As opposed to like other movies, and like we talked about the extras. It's
like Lord of the Rings. This is like a town full of extras.
I don't know. It was just it wasn't just confined to like 5 people in the movie.
You're easy to please.
Like a lot of DCOMs are. It's different in the fact that it's expansive.
When I tell Charles about a movie, he's like, okay, I don't really care like how the acting was. How many extras were in this movie? Rudy, there's a stadium full of extras. Oh my god. I've got to see Rudy.
I love Sean Ashton. Love it.
I've never seen Rudy. But yeah, I agree. I think, as I was saying, some tweaks. It could have been like a fun movie. It could even have been like a more serious horror movie. So like kind of like a horror comedy where there's kind of, meta jokes about horror movies, and there's the theaters getting trapped into dangerous situations that don't just involve a fan blowing on the audience a lot.
What if I kind of wish I kind of wish the villain was somebody else though as well.
But it was still fun. That I think this is pretty much the only DCOM we've had so far where there's an actual mystery throughout. We joked about the Rip Girls mystery of who the binoculars person was.
At first, it did seem like it was obvious that it was him, but it was cool that they, it could have been Merle.
Yeah, they really cheated.
They kind of hinted at, that, it could have been, Movie Mason until a dude jumps like 20 feet down on top of him,
Hey, we don't know enough about Movie Mason. Actually, what if Werewolf of the Megaplex is a prequel and Movie Mason is younger? But yeah, I think it was a genuinely pretty good movie. I think it's probably in the upper echelons. It lived up to my expectations, and I thought it was a pretty fun time. And Sam.
It's fine.
All right, that's an upgrade. Sam usually says if I can quote, this movie fucking sucks. So, moving up in the world. I think this is probably the closest to Don't Look Under the Bed as functioning as like an actual movie and not just a Disney Channel original movie.
Are you talking in a mystery sense? Like, we don't know who's doing these things and don't look under the bed.
I just mean like
the quality of
this could be like a movie that like a kid watch and you wouldn't be like, oh, it's a Disney Channel original movie.
That's the only reason that you do watch.
Yes, I know, but generally this movie, unlike other DCOMs where it's like set in a setting, unlike any other ones, it's got like a premise. Unlike other movies, it's a little horror, but mostly like a mystery. And Mickey Rooney's in it. Like, what more do you want?
Kids love Mickey Rooney.
He's a funny fucking old man. Well, now he's dead. He's in the ground.
Peace. Yeah, he was
you don't know where he is. He could be cremated on a shelf.
His ashes were spread over the Megaplex.
He was putting a Molotov cocktail.
At his funeral, they brought up a boombox and they hit play, and it was him going, Hollywood. Da, 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 da. All right, so that was another movie. The year of the DCOM, the year 2000, is slowly but surely coming to a close. Next episode, we will have the ultimate Christmas present. But in the meantime, you can write to us at awholenewpod@gmail.com. You can rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. You can subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and Google Play. Follow us on Spotify. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Like all our videos. Comment. YouTube channel actually being pretty successful. Oddly enough, the 13th year now has like over 1,000 views.
1,200 views. We're up to...
One of our least favorite DCOMs, I think, surprisingly very popular with the general DCOM or Disney Plus viewing audience. So that's kind of neat. So yeah, hit the bell. I don't know. Smash that like button. Pretty exciting stuff. Follow us on Twitter at @awholenewpod, all one word. I point to Jacob.
You can follow me on Twitter for random retweets. Jacob_Telejohn, JACOB_TELLIJOHN.
That shouldn't mean that he will retweet you randomly.
Random retweets about random things going on.
I mean, you can follow me on Twitter if you... Actually, no, I don't retweet things because I don't like give the impression that I'm endorsing anything. I just like a bunch of stuff. So you can follow me on Twitter and then just go to my liked feed and maybe have a good time, but I don't recommend doing that.
Oh.
And I don't think Sam probably has anything to plug, but I could be wrong.
I'd like to plug music videos that tell a story. Stuck Like Glue, it's a good one.
Okay. I was like, are you going to provide an example?
Stuck Like Glue, it's a good one. It's about a girl who is obsessed with Captain Awesome from Chuck and then kidnaps him.
I worked with some people who would get mad if a music video was anything different than just people singing the song. If it was unrelated to the music video, I showed them Defunk by Daft Punk, which just involves an anthropomorphic dog in a trench coat who has a broken leg that's walking around with a boombox playing the song, and kids come up to him and be like, that's a good fucking song, and they're like, what is this? I don't get it. I just want country musicians to sing in front of a lake or something. So yes, Sam, we should support the art of music videos expanding beyond just people singing into microphones and playing instruments.
Also look up Blanco Brown. He's really good.
Blanco Brown.
He's got good songs.
Do I need to vet these people first?
Play you a song?
No, I'm just joking. I'm sure they're wonderful individuals, like all of us in this room together.
Stuck Like Glue's by Sugarland.
Sugarland,
not Sugar Ray.
Sugar Ray's the one in Scooby Doo.
All right, it's been a while. It's been a while. We got a Scooby Doo.
He mentioned Scooby Doo earlier with the sandwich. The Subway sandwich.
Well, we all... I mentioned Scooby Doo. See, we mentioned, Scooby Doo naturally in the situation. You always had to force it because you were trying to make it into a meme because I was kind of supporting you. And then I'm not a very supportive person. I lost that support, so...
They're remaking Scooby Doo, the animated.
Live action?
And I feel like the person that should play Shaggy, they have Will Forte. It should be Shaggy 2 Dope.
Or just the guy...
Nope, Shaggy 2 Dope.
Well, that's the weird thing about it being, a CG. So it's all the people who currently voice, the cartoon characters or previously voiced the cartoon characters could voice those characters, and it would sound good, but they have to have, the stunt casting of different celebrities that aren't always actually good voice actors.
Get Sarah Michelle Gellar back in there, Freddie Prinze Jr., that one guy that was in Scream.
Shaggy.
And the person that played Velma, who I don't know who it is.
All right, well, bringing this riveting conversation to a close.
If you know who played Velma in the live-action Scooby Doo, email the podcast.
Or comment on the YouTube video.
I'll hear about it at some point.
It is the only way we will be able to figure it out. We need you to do this work for us.
And what else has she been in since?
Leave a comment down below.
I know of no way for us to learn this information. We do not have the technology.
Will send you a bunch of DMs if you are the winner of this podcast.
Well, the winner of the podcast.
Can confirm. All right, and with that, does anybody have a funny final word to say? Hollywood.
That phony super coney Hollywood. They come from Chillicothe and Paducas with their bazookas to get their name up in lights. Hooray for Hollywood. You may be homely in your neighborhood, but if you think that you can be an actor, see Mr. Factor, he'd make a monkey look good. Within a half an hour, you'll look like Tyrone Power. Hooray for Hollywood.
Monica King's 11-year-old daughter checked this anime-style book out from the Monroe Middle School library.
She heard that there was some cuss words and stuff, and she thought it was a cool book, so she checked it out to see for herself.
But King says her daughter, who's in 6th grade, immediately knew something was off.
My daughter came and brought it straight to me and said, "Mom, I know you don't like this, so I wanted to show you."
The book King's daughter brought home is part of the Japanese graphic novel series Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. The story involves a dragon which transforms into a young human woman in a maid outfit. This particular story features drawings of the Dragon Maid exposing most of her breasts.
This whole chapter right here talks about how enlarged her breasts are and what the issues are with them.